Hello. Okay, my name's Rose Mayer. You probably know that. I promised you my cat would be in this video, but I'm sorry the cat is not going to be in the video because I'm not home right now. I'm in a hotel, which also explains why this is so late, because we've been in the car for a few hours trying to get to the hotel. Long story. But the cat is home and safe. I'll attach a picture for you. Okay, so anyways, the movie I chose was the one we watched in class today, The Woman's Film, which I loved. It was produced and directed by Judith Smith. She was part of the San Francisco Newsreel filmmakers, and it was also produced by Luis Alamo, I don't know how to pronounce that, but you know what I mean, and Ellen Soren. And so it was released in 1971, and it was extremely successful in California and New York, the big cities like New York City and LA. So some things about Judith Smith. I have a lot on her because she's very intriguing to me. She joined the Newsreel filmmakers, or the Newsreel, when she was only 22. This is her most well-known documentary, but she also produced many others, including The Mother Center and Becoming a Social Worker. She also wrote a book that came out in 2021. It was on mothering in later life. So she's very woman-focused. Something that's very interesting to me is her main focus in life is not films. Films is just how she communicates what she cares about, which is social work and education. She is a part-time professor at Fordham Graduate School. And so a really fun fact is that the Woman's Film has been shown at the Berlin Film Festival twice, once when it came out and a second time in 2020. And Judith and her co-director Luis both attended that showing. And it basically... it was made by an all-women's crew about the women's liberation movement. This movie was made, yes. And yeah, Newsreel. Let's talk about Newsreel real quick. Newsreel was a radical film collective formed in New York City, but it also had chapters in Mexico City and Japan, so it was international. And it became a third world newsreel in the early 1970s. Honestly, I think it's really cool. It is something that I would be interested in doing with my life, so I really like it. I want to be a documentarian, and Judith Smith is my new role model. Anyways, the motive documentary that this is an ethnographic film, which we talked about in class today. So basically it is an ethnographic film because many of the shots were purely observant of the subjects, fly on the wall style. Even the interviews, when they were happening, the women were just living their daily lives, just talking, putting away groceries, dealing with their children while they were talking about their lives. It was also about real people who exist, not a formulated story at all. It was people just telling their real life stories. It was about a culture. The culture being women in the US in the 70s. But it focused on a people as a whole because it was a movie about women in the culture of men and women and how they coexist in America in the 70s. And it also featured women of all different ages and races, so it gives a diverse perspective, meaning that in a scientific manner there wasn't much bias in the data that was collected. This documentary was targeted at Americans as a whole in the 70s, men and women. Men were targeted in the way where the message was to come across to them and hopefully inspire them to change their ways and assist women in their struggles. And it was targeted at women in a way of hopefully inspiring them, acting as a little bit of a call to action, and just educating women about the oppression that they do go through, and maybe people they know go through. The message behind this documentary I've kind of already addressed, but it is about the oppression of women, women experienced in the 70s and what changes they wanted to see. So yeah, that was kind of the main gist of it. What time period was this made in? So this was made in the 70s, and I do think it was effective for its time period. I think it was most effective with women who might see this as an inspiration or relate to the women in this film. Because in the 70s, it was a little more ingrained in society, like gender roles. So men might not be as open to really taking in this information and doing anything with it. But it was more successful in bigger cities on the coast, which are typically more progressive. So this is like why I do think some men would have maybe received this well, and a lot of women might have taken it as an inspiration, a call to action. So if there was a similar documentary made today, I do think it would be effective, because I think a lot of the problems addressed in this documentary are ones that still exist today. Even though society has changed, there are fundamental things that exist because the US is a patriarchy, like misogyny, sexism, like these things are a continued issue, especially in places less progressive, like the South or more rural areas. Like things like this get swept up under the rug a lot. And I do think like remaking this film in a more modern way, where it addresses the issues in a more current manner, it would be very effective, especially if it could reach the right audiences and kind of open women's eyes to like standing up for themselves and maybe issues that they didn't even realize were an issue, because there is a lot of mistreatment in relationships that happen, and a lot of women don't have the information to understand that. And I do think that having something like this would be very helpful, as well as just like things like in the movie they talked about the Vietnam War, and like just talking about women in relation to the government and how the government respects them, especially with the recent Roe v. Wade being overturned. Like I think this would be honestly extremely relevant to right now, because women's rights are such an issue in the current day. But yeah, I really do think this would be something important in society today. Honestly, I hope one day I can do something like this. I thought it was a very inspiring film to watch, and I hope you enjoy my commentary. And I'm gonna put a photo of my cat in here in the file as well. So his name's Franklin. It's really cute. Oh, I was cat sitting for Amanda, but now my dad is adopting the cat, so it is my cat now. Well, not my cat, it's my dad's cat, but I'm considering it my cat. Okay, bye.